Yo, welcome to the Regen Podcast for Millennials by Millennials seeking the truth. Very excited because it's our first ever episode, first ever podcast. It's the start of something beautiful. How do you guys feel?
Feeling good.
Feeling great.
Yes, I'm your host, Juwan, and I have Sarah and Carrington here with
y'all?
me today. And I got these two because they're very skilled and experienced on the topic that I'm talking about today. A very highly indulged in, highly anticipated, highly inhaled situation called weed.
Yup.
Yes, sticky icky,
Yup.
Ganja.
dank, grass.
That blue cheese.
No ranch.
No ranch?
No ranch.
We talking about marijuana
A bong
today.
in the blitz.
A bong in the blitz, a pipe in the creep.
Yeah.
That's the Austin Powers reference, but we'll keep going.
Shout out to everybody smoking the mid pack.
Yeah,
No,
right?
not the
People-
Reggie.
Yeah, the Reggie, we know.
Seeds and stems and all.
Seeds
We
and
love
all.
y'all too.
But it's loud, boy.
Snap, crackle, pop. Okay.
Exactly. We're talking about that. So let's get some stuff out of the way.
Cool.
Have you guys smoked weed?
Yeah.
Yes, I
You
have.
smoked weed before? Okay. Let's start it off with, I don't know how you guys were introduced to, but I know how I was introduced to, and I'll tell it after you guys tell how you were introduced. Like, what was your first encounter with weed? Who, like, you don't have to say the person's name, but who introduced it? Where was it? You know what I mean? And how was it?
Well, I first saw weed the first time I was on the back of a school bus and this dude popped open this deodorant can and he pulled out some weed. I was like, yo. You on a school bus? You about to get in trouble. This is like 7th, 8th grade, something like that. Yeah, and then I spent the night over this kid's house and he had some weed and I was like, yo, what the heck is going on? So I had always thought it was like, I'm like, nah, bro, you can't smoke weed. That's devil stuff. And then in high school, my friend started smoking weed and I was like, bro, you really tripping. And then eventually I was like, shoot, let's see what they talking about. And then I smoked weed for the first time with a group of friends out in the woods and it was quite the experience. It was quite the experience.
Okay. Sarah?
Mine was peer pressure. Not really. Not really.
Was it?
No, I'm just playing. No, my first time, actually, I didn't get high. I was just with a group of friends in high school. I think I was in 12th grade. And we smoked outside of my neighborhood, and I didn't get high. And I was like, what is this? I mean, it doesn't matter. I wasn't going to do it anymore. Right? It probably was Reggie. This is true, right? But the second time, I actually lived with my best friend at the time. We smoked, and it must have been that loud pack because all I remember is making a sandwich, trying to play spades, leaning, and we couldn't ever finish the game. So that's where I started.
Goodness gracious.
Probably didn't even start the game.
Right, we probably didn't, but the sandwich was busting.
Mine is similar to both of y'all. I saw a lot of weed in school. And I don't know if y'all remember the DARE program. Y'all remember that?
Yes.
I just thought I was better than everybody. Because I was just like, yo, I'm in the DARE program. I got the sticker
Facts.
and everything. They was like, yo, say no to drugs, that whole campaign. And I was all a part of that campaign, especially in elementary and middle school. But they really shaped it to where you thought drug dealers were the most evil people on the planet.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, weed, everything like that, woo-de-woo. I go in the bathroom one day, and these guys got some weed. They're like, yo, you trying to smoke this? And I'm like, what? No. On school grounds?
Y'all smoking in the bathroom?
I can't. No, I didn't. I was just like, nah. Later on that day, they asked me again, and we were out. I was at this friend's house. He was like, yo, you trying to smoke this weed? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So I did it, did not feel anything. Boom. That was in like 6th grade.
Dang.
12th grade happened. I don't smoke throughout all of high school. 12th grade happens. We graduate. It's the graduation night. I'm with a couple of my homies. We there. He's like, boy, you gotta smoke. You just did. They were rolling up on top of the diplomas. He said, yeah. I don't even want to say their name because I know they're going to be watching this. So I didn't want to put them on Front Street. But he rolled it on top of the diplomas, and we smoked it, and I was high. But that first experience, I got so high to the point, like, something was wrong. I know me, and I know when something wrong. I'm like, yo, son, my heart beating. They like, yo, you twigging. Like, just
Right.
be calm.
That was that paranoia.
Oh, yeah. I'm going off. Then my heart was beating, and then everything got quiet. Then I heard violins, and I can hear my mama saying, if anything going to happen to anybody, it's going to be you.
No.
It's going to be you. But here's the funny part. She ain't never said that.
You was hallucinating.
else concerned?
Did they lace this? Did they lace this?
Listen, I have no clue, but it was too much. It was too much. But that didn't stop me there.
Right.
I went on to be a very prolific weed smoker.
A good career.
Wake and bake.
Yeah.
Pre-breakfast blunt.
Yep.
Post-breakfast blunt.
Pre-snack.
Brunch blunt. Post-lunch blunt.
Supper blunt.
Supper blunt. That's 5 o'clock. Dinner blunt at 8. Then had a blunt for dessert. I'm not even exaggerating. I smoked a lot of weed in my day.
Snack blunt.
Yeah, wake up, realize your mouth dry. So what do? You drink some water and you smoke.
Right.
You're back at it. So definitely, I've smoked a lot of weed. But what do you think draws everyone to weed smoking? Like, what is it about it that's make this epidemic? Because, at one point in time, I think everybody was approached with it, but a lot of people said no to it or different things like that. But now it's a time where, like, you ain't cool, you ain't living life unless you smoking. You know what I'm saying? Like they say, yo, especially Friday. I think Friday and How High, movies like this that really glorify weed. You got movies like that. It really, I think, I don't know if undemonize is actually a correct way to say it, but it kind of like took the negativity off of weed and make it an everyday thing. Like, what do you think behind that?
I think even around the time that I started, it was really just a social thing. I think, we were getting to a certain age. Everybody was just trying to do, what they wanted to do. No more rules, all that. So it was just a way to kind of just escape, be free, look cool, So everybody's smoking, not just weed, but blacks and all that stuff, cigarettes.
Black
you know what I'm saying? They thought that a black would like really up your high, right? So stupid. So I think it's just that social acceptability, at that time. Just want to look cool, right?
Yeah, had your head burning your neck.
I think for me it's because it's like for so long people always made it seem like, yo, this is the worst thing you could possibly do. And then when you start reaching that age where it's like, you know what, I'm tired of like you kind of in that rebellious stage. I'm like, let me try it because everyone says it's so like bad. And then when you hit it and you have a fantastic time, you're like, yeah, I know my parents don't know what they're talking about. I know my teachers don't know what they're talking about.
Curiosity in the cat.
Exactly.
And I think like the more you put pressure on something not to do it, something in the human wants to do the very thing that I think that just goes down with that. I think now a lot of people are smoking weed to escape.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely.
Like you just said, you're talking about escaping and getting away from the everyday problems. Man, I had a hard day. Like, I got to smoke a blunt. You know what I'm saying? This has been a tough time. I got to smoke a blunt. Whatever happens, I think we use weed to escape. So, do you guys believe weed is a bad or a good thing?
Dun, dun, dun.
Let's get right to it.
All right, let's get straight to it.
Right to the money.
Honestly, at this point, I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think we're not using it as a good thing. We're using a good thing as a bad thing. Yeah. It's just like with anything. You can drink too much water and kill yourself.
Yeah, water poisoning.
Absolutely.
Which shocked me. I've had it before.
Oh.
Of course.
Yeah, right.
Of course.
Man, I drank like 3 gallons of water. I don't know what was wrong with me, and I got sick. But that's neither here nor there.
But it's not a bad thing. It's just how do you use it? Do you abuse it? And then I think really, I don't know. That's just my perspective on it.
Absolutely. I agree with Carrington. And I believe that, that motivation is the biggest thing, because I've heard medicinally that it has many great causes. But I think, if you are using it to escape from reality, all those things, if you're addicted to it. And I've kind of wrestled with this for a long time because I like to smoke weed, and so, some people is drinking. Some people, you have your vices. But for me, that was mine. I just like to do that. So I've struggled with it. But I believe that my experiences with it have made me lean more towards it not being a good thing. So,
Yeah, my view on weed, I think weed is a great thing. I think weed is a good thing. And when I say I think it's a good thing, I think weed is, which we all know being medicinal. I think how humans use it to tie in both of what you guys said, I think that's what makes it bad. Now, let me put a pin right here. I feel that weed, or my belief is that weed is a medicine. Mm-hmm. I honestly believe that weed is a medicine. And just like codeine and other, narcotics. Yeah, different things like that. Because when something would go wrong, like I just got back from the dentist. and I had to get a root canal.
Oh, how'd it go? It was good.
It was, bro, horrible. But I was on laughing gas.
Oh my gosh.
That's
which
fine.
was hilarious. And then they gave me a whole bunch of numbing and stuff like that. But one of the things they prescribed to me was tramadol. Tramadol is something that people abuse. One of the other things they were going to prescribe was codeine.
Yeah.
Got to think about it. It can't be okay for you to use it as long as, or we make weed, or we demonize weed to make it seem like it's something other than a codeine and different things like that. But I think when you got your little pumps and all these little flips and all these people out here, you know, using weed as, like you said, somewhere to escape on how to cope and deal with life other than actually dealing with some type of diagnosing or some type of issue or disease happening with you. Because if you look at what weed does with people with Alzheimer's, incredible.
Yeah.
With people with ALS.
Or what's the one where they have like seizures?
Yeah, seizures.
Parkinson's too. Parkinson's.
Incredible.
Yeah.
You used to watch somebody smoke weed, they'll stop shaking.
Yeah.
Different things like that. And that's my point. I think it's for there. But when you give somebody with a breakup the
Self-medicating.
medicine that you're supposed to give to somebody with dementia,
Yeah.
that's the wrong diagnosis right there.
Right.
And so I think like Americans, or not even Americans, people, humans, we cope with things, like you said, whether it's weed or whether it's alcohol, whether
TV.
it's TV, social
Yeah.
media,
Food.
Netflix,
Relationships.
food.
Yeah.
Right. Relationships. We've coped and tried to get over everything that we deal with when it comes to life with some type of substance instead of putting it in a faith or something else.
Yeah, I was just
agree.
watching this video. This dude said he was talking about weed, and he was like, "Dang, I don't know how he put it, but basically, the challenges of life, if you use something like weed to cope or whatever it is to cope and to numb those situations, you'll never mature." He's like, a lot of times it takes the maturity away from you when you just go to whatever you depend on for it. And I thought that was a pretty good point. I remember one time, like when I was younger, like probably like 18, 19, I was going through like hard relationship time. And I was like, yo, I knew back then that I was like, I can't smoke during this time because I know I will be dependent on it and I'll be using it for the wrong reason. So if I even knew that at the time when I was like at my peak, like I love weed, if I knew I was like using it as a crutch, I was like, that's when the kind of like my perspective kind of started to shift.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that quote because I believe that, you know, if you're every time you get to the peak of something or, you know, that thing comes to a head where you're supposed to deal with it, you escape from reality. You never actually deal with the problem. So it's still there. You know what I'm saying? So it does go to that self-medicating and that lack of maturity because you'll never get past this point, you know, because it's like that drug or that substance is the wall that's keeping you from going to the next level.
And from really growing.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah. I have those. I feel the exact same way about that. It's just kind of like I used to look at a lot of different celebrities, like these people perform. You're like, man, I could never do that. Like, yo, thousands and thousands and thousands of people are watching you right there. And you're looking at this person like they're a hero. They're not a hero. They're inebriated.
And they're not even
They
here
toe
right
up.
now. Right.
Hold on, what is inebriated? Is like just
Intoxicated.
Like
Yeah.
they're impaired. Like you're on stage. They're not really them. Like Future, you know what I mean? He's not here most of the time.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Honestly.
when I think I'll go to the moon.
Yeah, that whole astronaut mixtape because he's an astronaut.
Right.
He's not actually in the building, guys.
Right.
And so I think like from there, like then I can't look at you or anyone like that as a hero because you're not really manning the full gravity or not just manning but womaning the full gravity of what you're dealing with right now because you don't really got the guts. You got the guts to smoke something to go on.
Yeah, but you can still look up to him as a hero because what the things they have accomplished is incredible. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, they may be using that as a crutch to help them with the level they're at now, but they still reach the level that you aspire to be. So I still can see how people will look up to them as a hero and still respect what they have done, even though they do have a crutch.
Yeah. Well, I think, but the people that we made heroes, they're not heroes because they have character. They're heroes because they got talent.
Yeah.
And so I think what happens is, so when we have so many gifted people and they out here, they're doing their thing because you can shoot a freaking basketball. Don't make you a LeBron James that's doing everything that he's doing outside of the sport.
Right, exactly.
And so it's kind of like, no, I don't think like, I think when I look up to the person or the people as heroes of what they're able, the stages they're able to stand on and to not be punked out by.
Yeah.
But when I realized that your whole basis of courage has come from a substance. It wasn't something
Absolutely.
in you. That makes me like, I looked up to you for that reason, not for that reason. Not saying they shouldn't be admired for their gift or talent. Yeah, I'm sure that's incredible. Because a lot of people were just born with it, or a lot of people like sharpened the gift to get to that level. But then I think when you have, you know, like I said, I think they should be admired at that point. But I admire people for like like heart. Yo, he got heart. Or if you see somebody getting in a fight and they hooking, they doing their thing, they might have not have won. He ain't let him punk you. He ain't scared of him. Like, you know what I mean? Or he'll stand up to a giant. I think that's even why, not to get biblical, but I think that's why we love the David and Goliath story. You stand up to giants. And so I think the giants of a stage, the giants of celebrity, you know, and the giant of crowds, the fact that you got to think about it, we ain't scared to talk right now, just us. But if you set like 5 million people around, it's like, oh, like, you know.
It's like David wasn't going to get a Zanny before he was getting ready to fight.
Exactly.
Like, I'm going to hook him, but let me pop this Zanny.
Yeah, let me pop this perk and let me get this sling.
But I think you got to be very cautious with that as well, because, you know, that's the word that I was thinking of the whole time you were speaking, is substance. You have to have substance about yourself, because it's one thing, you know, to get to a certain platform in life, but then you have nothing to sustain you or to sustain the people that are following you. You know, you spoke of LeBron James, you know, that platform of basketball got him to a place where he can be influential, you know, but what he does on the back, you know, in the background is what people admire and what pushes and motivates people, you know, to get to that place, you know what I'm saying? Because so they can do for others as well, you know. So when I look at, you know, those who are just substance abuse and escaping from reality and all those things, it's just like a soulless person. And now, you know, you have this influence, but what are you doing with it? So you're just influencing people to, you know, do substance abuse, do things that it has no meaning, no worth, you know what I'm saying? So,
but I think that's really good too, because it makes perfect sense. You know, people abuse substance because they feel like that's what they lack.
Yeah, true.
Honestly, when I see people like a lot of people that I like aspire to emulate in some sort of way, if I see them like smoke all the time, my heart just kind of breaks from, because like I know what that's like. It's like, dang, you must be trying to like, you just got a lot of stress.
You're dealing with something.
Yeah, you're just dealing with a whole lot. So it's just like, I want the best for you to be able to handle that and be yourself without having to.
Absolutely.
That was nasty, but without having to rely on that.
Absolutely. Man, that was one thing. I feel like when I was high, I could be 100% myself, you know, with no restraint. That was one thing. I believe that we even talked about that, because we've definitely smoked together quite a few times. But, you know, I just always felt like I could be myself with no walls. And I think that that's like a big thing. I was like, you know, how can I be this person who I really am without this substance? You know what I'm saying? So...
yeah, or like, think about it. Like you're saying it right now. How many people think they're more creative when they get high?
Right.
Like, why does a substance have to drop your walls? Why can't you do it? Because I think, like, at the end of the day, I was the same person. Man, I would hear melodies. I would hear instrument linings. I mean, oh my goodness. I would hear so much when it comes to music when I'm high. And I relied on that so heavily, so I had to be somewhat intoxicated in order to actually make music.
Right.
Because, you know, my walls are down, you know, my inhibitions are down. You're ready to go then. You're not thinking about life. You're more numb to what's happening, and you're more digging on the inside of yourself. But I've dropped that lie because, you know, obviously I don't smoke anymore.
Yeah.
But since I've been off of weed, I'm probably able to produce or create and have more creative ideas since I've been off of it. Like, I'm more sharp up here. I think, me personally, and this is me just talking about my opinion, I'm not telling anybody to believe in anything like that, but my opinion, I think weed clouds you.
Yeah.
Ever since I have not been on weed, I'm more clear than I've ever been. There is no filter that I have to pass through when it comes to my own mind. So I don't have to deal with it.
There was one point I wanted to touch on. You said, like, when you smoked, you felt more like yourself. When I would smoke, I would smoke because I wouldn't feel like myself. I would feel like a completely different person, or I feel like I'm not even in my body no more. I feel altered. Like, that's what I was craving. So then once I got off that, like, once I stopped, I was like, quick note from our sponsors. 5 minutes. Oh, okay, 5 minutes. That
was the 5 minute. We just got the 5 minute, mark from our
directors.
But yeah, I would feel like I would be tired of just like, I'm like, I'm so bored. I wish I could just feel altered. And then I would just go and smoke as much as I possibly could to feel as different as I could.
That's the battery in the back. That's what you're talking about.
Like, it was fun.
Yeah.
Not sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the running. And then when it comes to weed, I don't think weed should be smoked, even if it's like prescribed. Me personally, because smoking ain't never good for you.
Right.
You got to think about how we smoking weed now. It's in tobacco wrappers. It's in
Right.
backwoods.
It's laced.
Boy.
Yeah, man. If you look at your lungs, your lungs are probably off the chain. Like even when I smoke blunts, I end up moving to joints. Not that that's even better.
Right.
You know,
Papers.
then you got raw papers and
You got
different
bongs.
bongs. You know,
Right.
this is the cleanest source. Of, Let me tell you something. Smoke ain't never
Water
clear.
bottles. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, now they have vaporizers.
Water bottles, of course.
Yeah, they have
Toilet
vaporizer
rolls.
now, so
Okay.
that you're not actually even inhaling.
Yeah, but then you're going to
smoking.
get popcorn lungs. You know, the vaping stuff, you're going to get the popcorn lungs where it's like,
Oh, it's like that now.
yeah, I mean, any type of vape, any vapor, it's
But
not
they
good
got
for
the
you.
vape where it's not even like.
You talking about the
like water?
You talking about
It's
like,
like
the volcano things? You know, the volcano with the nah.
I don't even know what that is.
Okay,
What is
never
that?
mind.
Tell me about
It's-
that. Educate
It's
me.
like you put the weed in it. It's like this big volcano thing, and it just heats up the weed. It doesn't burn it and it fills up this bag, and then you hit the bag.
Wow.
Boy, you on something.
I ain't. I never.
I'm about
No.
to say you experienced some crazy stuff.
I mean, I wish I would have when I was in the day, but then it was like $300-$400 something like that. But
Wow. No, I've never had that.
But no, I never had anything like that. I was an organic boy, so I was doing stuff like that. But I think weed should be consumed
Yeah.
than anything. Me personally, like if it was prescribed to you, but I don't think. Do they prescribe edibles? Is that like a prescription?
probably
Yeah, we got
not.
prescription
CBD,
brownies.
like maybe CBD.
Well, now I do believe in CBD. So when we talk about cannabis, you know, there's two strands of it, and it's THC then it's CBD. CBD is the calming effect, and the THC is more of the
Psychoactive.
the stimulant, psychoactive,
Right.
hallucinogen part of the actual thing. And like I know a lot of people even back in the '60s with like Sammy Davis and Frank Sinatra when them boys used to smoke stuff like that. Their strand of weed wasn't like ours.
It wasn't Girl
not at
Scout.
all.
It wasn't no
Yeah,
cookies.
Not at
yeah,
all.
no. This is gasoline. That's why we call it gas.
Exactly. Yeah.
It diesel.
Yeah.
You
Like-
smoking what? Just some vegetable oil, some water, or something.
Well, yeah, and like so, what I learned too, I was doing some research for the podcast, but like THC and CBD are totally interconnected, and so like the more THC there is present in a nugget or a strand, the less CBD there is, and
Yeah.
then the more CBD there is, the less THC there is.
Right.
Right.
And so they used to smoke the opposite. It was more
CBD.
CBD,
THC.
more calming effect than
But no, the stuff that we doing, you gotta think about. Then and recreationally, I don't know if y'all ever been in something called a marathon.
Right.
But at one point, I was in a group. This is when I knew it was a little too much for me. When it kept going around, I'm like, what are we trying to achieve? Like,
Right.
I'm a
Right.
goal-minded individual. Like I see my mama house. So I'm
What-
trying
What's
to
the
figure out.
goal here?
Smoking yourself to sleep. and
Yeah,
stuff.
like I'm not alive at this
Right.
point in time. I'm dying. Did anybody watch my heart beating like this? Can y'all see
Right.
me?
Right.
It was crazy. But I felt like Craig from Friday. He said, shh, shh, shh. You hear my heart beating? I said, that's what it's supposed to do. So I was tripping on that.
Right.
So if anybody was listening right now, which they are, in a nutshell, just so that we could be very, very plain for everybody, would weed be something that you would advise to somebody? Like if somebody was sitting at the table, or someone listening right now on the podcast, let's say, would you tell them to smoke weed or not to?
I'm not gonna tell you what to do. I'm gonna say whatever you're doing right now. I would say like I'm not about to tell you what to do, but I'll tell you my experiences that I've had from it. But if you are questioning it, I would say like you really gotta let God work on your heart. So I like someone just telling you like, yo, stop doing this. You probably aren't gonna stop if you don't have a good reason. But if God gets control of your heart and then starts slowly weaning you off of it, then you'll have a change. But I'm not gonna tell
What
you.
if they don't believe in God?
Well, then we got bigger fish to fry. We really do. Really do. But I would also say, too, listen to your experiences, and then I would ask you, what are your intentions? Like, ask yourself, like, 3 whys. Like, why am I smoking weed? And then after you answer that, ask, why do I need to even do that? And then figure out what you're doing it for.
Yeah. Me, I have been a part of like introducing someone to weed before. I don't think I was just like, hey, come smoke this with me, but I just smoked and I always had weed and I felt so bad. Like, after she smoked for the first time, she had like a paranoia experience, and it just like took me out, and I just felt so bad. So I don't think that I would, tell someone, hey, go do this. But I absolutely would share my experiences. Like you said, I would share my experiences. I would share what I know about it, and just, let them know, hey, do some research on it or whatever, before you jump into this. Like, don't let anybody peer pressure you into it. You're grown, you're an adult, you're gonna do what you want to do, but at the end of the day, like, I wouldn't suggest that somebody do it. No, if you could stay away from it,
You
stay
save a lot
away
of
from
money
it.
too.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm gonna tell you what to do. Now I'm playing. No, just honestly on some advice tip. I don't think you can't solve problems with another problem.
Right.
And the reason I'm saying that, I know a lot of people listen, well, I don't think weed is a problem. That's why I got you wrong right now, homeboy. Nah. I'm just saying, like, weed can be very addictive.
Absolutely.
Anything you're addicted to is a issue because you are dependent upon that thing. You need it. Like, I got homeboys now, I'm sad. Or what bro saying? No, I can't even have this conversation. Let me hit this blunt first.
Right.
What do you, huh?
Right.
You got to go get something for you. We can talk about. Right, you can't even eat.
Yeah.
Like, you need weed to give you an appetite.
Yeah.
Like, stuff like that. And actually, mine was the reversal. I would eat a lot, but if I did not, it got to a point where my appetite was destroyed once I started using weed.
Dang.
To the point that I could not eat unless I smoked weed.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. So, like, and then, obviously, you could tell a lot of people that's weed smokers. Not that you ain't got big boned weed smokers, but I'm saying, like, you could tell you're going to start losing weight even smoking weed. It's a stimulant. Any stimulant's going to rile you. Yeah, and so, but I would just say, me personally, I would never advise you to actually even tamper with it. I think if it's not prescribed, and not to be I am, but, the clear, sharp edged person, but, like, if it's not prescribed, I definitely don't think you should do it. Now, especially not even it being legalized in Georgia. Now, I know if you're in California and you're listening to this.
Well, they working on the federal bill right now. It
Yeah,
just
I
got
know.
passed through the House.
Oh, yeah. But if you're one of these states that can smoke weed and different things like that, like, I would second Carrington. Like, why? Just, like, think about it. I think we do a lot of stuff and we don't ask ourselves why.
Right.
And one of the things, this is a thought I was playing with, like, a couple of months ago, I was talking to my dad. And he said something, and I know a lot of times, when the old head says something, we're like, what you talking about?
He said, "Oh, yeah."
But we were talking, and one of the subjects or the phrases that came up was, I feel like your generation lacks meaning.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I agree. Like, even in our music, what does it mean? Like,
Turn up. That's what
They
it
high.
is.
I mean,
Just turn
them-
up.
that's what I'm saying. For why? What did we win?
We just turning up.
Right. Why are we
It's about
celebrating?
having fun. It's just all
But
about
I'm
having
still
fun.
working a 9 to 5 at minimum wage. Let's go to the club. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everything is just like, we celebrating wins we don't really have.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, like, not to get on that'll be another podcast, The Current State of Music, The Truth on the Music. That was a plug.
Yeah.
Plug.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would just think, we need to find meaning. Why? Like you're saying, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And if there's a different route other than there being a diagnosis and a disease, I would say you need to find a healthier way to cope.
Reevaluate.
That's a good example. That's a good, like you said. If it's, what'd you say? Say it again.
I'm saying, like,
root, you need to re-diagnose.
Yeah, if the root isn't diagnosis, then you need to find another mechanism to cope with. You need to find something else.
Okay, so I got a question.
Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah, because now it's.
I know you've been burning for this.
Carrington's ready, y'all. Y'all don't even know.
Okay, so obviously I'm a believer in Jesus, right?
Yes, all day long.
And given that, I will trust the advice of people that I know more than what I know. Okay, especially scripture. But what would you say to the plenty of us, and even myself, to say, well, God never said nothing about no weed. Now He didn't say don't smoke.
Okay.
What would you say to them?
What would I say to them? What scriptures are they pulling from? Oh, and he's ready. Hold on. Y'all can't see this. Oh, y'all might see this. If you're listening to it, he has a notepad with scriptures on it.
Okay, how about Genesis 9, verse 3. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. And as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything. What would you say to someone that pulls that scripture to you?
All right. So one of the first thing, not to get so much into hermeneutics or anything like that, like interpreting scripture, but he led off with eating. So
edibles.
But okay, before we go to the edible, let's go from the smoking
God with
point.
the edibles. No,
But let's go from the smoking point, right?
Right.
So if you go from, he said, so God is okay with edible. You know, one of the things he started with talking about food and then all of the green plants. You know, I give unto you. And so the green plants he has to be talking about has to be a source of eating.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you're not just going to be chewing on aloe vera. Well, I don't know what they're doing at this point. They're burning sage. So I don't know.
Synthetic weed.
I ain't judging nobody. I'm just saying, like, right? Synthetic, you know, but it's to consume. And so we're talking about consumption. Now, as far as edibles, there's a scripture about being sober-minded that I know that you have. Read it for the people.
Let me see. Let me find it. 1 Peter 5:8. Be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls like a roaring lion seeking to devour someone.
Right.
So
that kind of flips it on the, like, you can't, if you're trying to argue for weed, you can't really use that.
you can't use it because now you got two scriptures. They use the greenery piece,
Mm-hmm.
but God shows you that he's talking about the food and eating of the greenery.
Absolutely.
And now we get to talk about being sober-minded. And I'm going to be honest with you, that's with anything. We were just talking about it now. Be sober-minded with Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Be sober-minded with the things that you entertain, the music. Like, let's be honest, a lot of music drives us into different thoughts.
Right.
Like, one of the most angriest times, I love Tupac, still love Tupac to this day, but I had to cut how much Tupac I was listening to.
Right.
You can't wake up with Hit 'Em Up and not want to hit someone up that day. Like, you can't,
Right.
you know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
And so your whole persona is now forget the world because of what you're listening to, you know? And so I think the same thing, you know, be sober-minded with whatever you're, from whatever that you're entertaining or what you're dealing with. And you got to think about it. He's talking about the enemy, the devil. He's like a roaring lion seeking who he can devour. By the time a lion actually prances on you or pounces on you, going for the kill, he's been stalking you way before you actually seen him.
Absolutely.
So if you keep spotting, the devil, or that's the devil working, well, why didn't you see him stalking you?
Right.
He's been looking for you this whole time. And so just like the lion, you got some lions that run into the pack, or I want the antelope that deviates, that goes away from community, that goes away from relationships and different things like that, the isolated antelope. And so in so many ways, weed is I know a lot of people say a gateway drug, and one of the funniest things was Cat Williams' joint. He said, I never hit no weed. He was like, I want some crack.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
But that's true. But we ended up finding out that Cat was on crack now.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we're not supposed to. I'm sorry. Let's come back.
Oh, no. I didn't know that.
But in that while, like how these stories like lead into the other one, but like,
Right.
so you'll catch all of these influential people. They'll give you rhetorics and different type of statements to get you to not look at something as bad, but that very thing they told you to stay away from did not actually work.
Yeah.
You know, Black China tummy tea didn't actually work.
Uh-oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I'm getting too.
No,
Like,
no,
am I
I'm
shading?
listening.
Okay, I
No,
don't want
no,
to
I'm
shade
listening.
nobody. Okay,
I'm
cool.
listening.
I didn't want to be that guy. Like, why he keep taking shots? I'm
Right.
not taking shots. I'm really just look at it. Like, all the proof is in front of you, like right
Right.
here. Everything that these people professing ain't doing nothing for you. It's making you worse. It's making you worse.
Okay, so I'm hearing all that, but if I'm a listener,
Okay.
I'm still like, okay, I get it. The tummy tea not hitting. Okay, crack. Cat is on crack. Okay, but why can't I smoke weed?
I want to interject for a moment and go back into that being sober of mind, because I think that even with the Bible, a lot of times we have this controversy of drinking alcohol as well, and
Right,
that
right.
intoxication. So it goes back to what you were talking about with just intoxication of anything. But I believe even like when it says that what a drunk man tells no lies type deal, it's almost like you're open. When you're intoxicated, you're open, to anything. And I feel like, you do have to guard what you do when you open yourself up with substances, especially what you were saying, about you don't know if it's the gateway drug, but I do believe that people chase a high. There's this feeling that you're chasing, every time you begin to roll up that blunt or whatever it is, even in the process of doing it, it's something
Yeah.
in the breaking it down.
They're going to pick it up.
Right. It's something in all of that you're chasing. And I believe that's why people do end up on, crack or cocaine or whatever, lacing weed with it, it's trying to tell people that, they're not doing those things, although they're adding it in there. But it's because you're always seeking after this high. And can I get higher than this?
True.
But I do believe that, it's the same thing. If you're getting intoxicated, you're not clear thought. Even when you are drunk, it's easy for people to persuade you. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not in your own thoughts.
Easy
you know
to
what I'm
pop
saying?
off.
Right. It's easy for people to insert things into your head, things you would never do. You know what I'm saying? And people think that, just because I'm smoking weed, it's not the same thing. Yes, it absolutely is, because I believe that you're open. We do things sometimes on weed that we would never do, if we were not smoking weed. So
See, I wouldn't kill 17 waffles
Absolutely.
if he wasn't smoking.
Yeah, you gotta think about how much money, boy. We was burning a hole in our pocket with that weed.
Yeah.
But I think you look at the word. Weed is a stimulant. Here's the question: what is it stimulating in you?
yeah.
Gotta think about it. The only reason you take it when you have a disease is supposed to stimulate something that I have a deficiency in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shaking because there's something not producing, or some wires being crossed, different things like that. Now I'm taking a stimulant. What is it stimulating you? That's what I would say to the weed smoker.
Well, I was just doing a little bit of research. It stimulates these cannabinoids, right? And I thought this was so interesting. It stimulates these cannabinoids in your mind that control your short-term memory, your perception, and something else I couldn't remember. I think it's like appetite or something. But then I just thought it was funny how our body naturally produces something to simulate those things at a normal level, right? But when you smoke, it overstimulates them. So then I was like, oh, that's why we overeat. I was like, oh, that's why you forget a lot
want
of
it when
stuff.
I want it.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, dang, that's why you might get anxiety, because it probably stimulates that same overstimulates that over analytical part of your brain. I was like, now that makes sense why you get paranoid and why you start thinking way too much.
Exactly. Do you know how I walk? You know how many times I walk in and out of my room looking for my phone 8 times?
Oh, boy.
What? My phone.
Do you know how many times
most of the time you're on the phone.
I stopped at a stop sign like it was a stoplight. Like, that's not okay.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I roll through stop signs, yeah. I'm straight through it, stop
People
at green
talking to
lights,
you
go
like,
through reds.
Sorry, say that one more time, bro. Yo,
How is
where
that
you-
okay? You know what I'm saying? It's like you can't really think like you would
Yeah.
normally think in your natural mind. How am I stopping at a stop sign as if it was a red, green, yellow light? Like,
It's
what?
too much.
Everyone, but that's the part that we all, when we look back, we all tell jokes about it. We laugh about, bro. And it becomes like this thing when we talk about it. It's like, oh, I heard my cousin. He said when he was high, he couldn't find a remote. He ate like 10 cheeseburgers. I would love to experience something crazy like that. But then when you actually experience it, it's not that
You're
fun.
not in control of
Yo,
yourself.
when I see people at the store now, now that I don't smoke, I feel like, because when you smoke, I don't even think the smell and all that stuff really bothers you because you're constantly in it, right?
smell like it.
Right, but now I'm in the store, like, people, it's just like, dang, that's so disrespectful. Like, you smell like you just hot boxed in the car and walked in here.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you know what I'm
We're in
saying?
the movie theater. My son is here.
Right, but I mean, it's like they got their carts. It's like you asking them to move. Can I get by you? They don't even have any like social awareness for the fact that other people are right here because they're gone, like literally gone. It's crazy.
I'm trying to tell you. Check this out. Marijuana. This is the history of marijuana. So this is added. I just searched this on my phone. And it's one of the things that's kind of added to it. Marijuana has been used as medicine and a way of achieving euphoria since ancient times.
Wow.
The first reference to it is used in a Chinese medical manual dating back to 2700 BC. Didn't I say it was medicine? I ain't had this listen, I'm not one of them jokers that set up props and stuff like that. I'm reading this. I just searched it. I felt something in my stomach say, search for the history of marijuana. So Chinese legend states that its usefulness in treating rheumatism, gout, malaria, and oddly enough, absent-mindedness was documented by Chinese emperor. Now, go to the next. It says its use from China to Korea, India, and then, or its use spread to all of those countries, and then to Eastern Africa. Okay? In India, the plant was celebrated in one of the Sanskrit Vedic hymns as an herb that could release us from anxiety. But you got to think about it. When I used to smoke, I used to get anxiety.
Right. It's flipped.
Like, it's like, I'm trying to say, like, yo, like, I'm then to the overthinker that's out there that dealing with anxiety. Did you stop overthinking when you got high? You probably started thinking more. Now you think you're on the wrong side of the law. The cops are here.
Oh my goodness.
They know.
The SWAT kicking in the door anytime right now.
They all see me.
Right.
Or walking into a family function and trying not to seem like an alien. Well, you are an alien, sir. You're not here.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, it says an Egyptian papyrus from about 1500 BC makes mention of cannabis as a useful way to treat inflammation.
Inflammation?
Yeah.
Inflammation, yeah. Ancient doctors, look at it. It's all medication. It's all medicine. Prescribed marijuana for pain relief, but also advised against using it so much as it could cause the user to see devils.
Wow.
Hey,
Boy.
I
just
believe
found this,
that
yo.
too. Yo, I believe that.
Come on, yo. This is from 1500 BC.
They talking about seeing devils back then.
Yeah. So they said you can't use so much of it. You remember? So now what is the difference? Use it to treat, but don't use it as recreation.
Right.
Because the recreational use of marijuana leads to seeing devils. Now, that's what they've documented. Egyptian historian documented on papyrus 1500 BC. So like I said, we're not on this podcast to try to convince someone to do anything.
Right.
And I think so many times we have so many people telling us what to do instead of putting all the facts in front of us and leaving the people responsible for the facts. That's all Regen Podcast is going to be about. We want to make sure that we put, all of this substance in front of you, all of these ideas and rhetorics and concepts and, in front of you and letting you deal with all the facts. And because I find that change actually sticks. Transformation actually happens when the person can discover it themselves.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I found so many people, especially with like pastors and presidents and celebrities, you're only sold out to that personality. So if that personality actually fail or quit doing what they were doing or let you down, like everybody flipping over T.I. right now, which I'm not saying whether I agree with that or disagree with that or not, but you got a lot of people, I'm done now. Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
And so their whole idea on the situation was Kanye.
Yeah.
That's a hot topic.
That's a whole podcast in
That
and of
is a
itself.
whole concept right now.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of hearing this stuff. I would like to go into some type of information. I'm stuttering. I'm so excited. I would want to talk about this.
Yeah.
But so
Another
did that shock
time.
you? That I'm shocked about
That,
the Seeing
I am
Devils
shocked.
joint.
Seeing devils is like the biggest thing for me.
I'm shocked that they documented that because
Right.
I absolutely agree with that.
and then it made it through the history.
Right. Because I think it goes back to that being open, and because I know when I used to smoke, I was even careful of who I smoked with.
Facts.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
facts.
Because, like I said, it opens you up. So, I don't know what you believe.
Right.
I know what I believe, but I do believe that, when you are in that intoxicated place, whatever is on the inside of you comes out.
Right.
So absolutely.
I ain't gonna say the person name, but I got a homeboy. I was smoking with this homeboy, and bruh's Jamaican. Like he got Jamaican like roots, and he got high one time when we was in this car and was chilling, and he got high, and he started talking in the Jamaican voice, like the Sinimon. Like he was tripping. I'm like, bro, you good? And then he looked back, and I couldn't see the white in his eyes. I was like, boy, what you got going?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I ran out of the car, and I'm like, yo, stay back. And he kept like approaching me. I'm like, I'm going to drop you out here and behind my mama's house if you don't stay in the car.
Oh, heck
Right.
no.
I'm trying to tell you, be some crazy stuff happening.
Right.
And I'm not even exaggerating. Sarah, you were there.
I was there.
It was, boy.
I was there.
I was like, what's happening? But whatever was in the person happened. But then we watched this person actually have a life transformation change.
Yeah.
And then after we smoked with him, he was all normal.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But while he was in that funk or while he was in whatever situation or realm he was in at that time, oh yeah, it was spiritual. I definitely think marijuana opens you up spiritually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even certain
facts.
music that, I would listen to when I was high, it would take effect. Like you could feel what was in the music when you were listening to it when you were high.
Right. Dang.
That's for sure. So we got 5 minutes, but one of the other things too is even talking about alcohol, which we'll probably do a podcast on that. But they refer to alcohol as spirits.
Absolutely.
I always thought that was so interesting.
So interesting. But you got to think about it. When you're in a club, imagine you're in a club, right? Because everything kind of gets you in the moment of the environment or the atmosphere. So what our generation calls what our generation calls vibes
Yeah.
is really just environments.
Just a vibration at the end of the day.
Vibration. What we call
Right.
vibration is really just atmosphere.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you ever see somebody, you in a club and a dude walks in and there's a group of dudes and you can tell they're not here to party. Like,
Right,
they here to
exactly.
fight
They here to
somebody.
look for somebody.
Yeah, they
right,
trying to, you know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, when you're in the club, what is one of the things that gets you into the moment of the club?
Yeah, getting
of the
faded.
environment.
Turned
You hit the
up.
spirit of that environment. You start to drink
Absolutely.
spirits. You know what I mean?
Smoke
you start
weed,
to drink, yeah.
pop
and
pills.
so, boom, this is kind of ridiculous. Like, where you even at the club at this point?
Right.
Because
Right.
you on a perk.
Not really.
You done smoked 2 blunts and you on Hennessy. Like, are you there?
Right.
So why get that out of pocket to not even be in the building? And so, listen, there's another thing. I lie to y'all not. I was in the club. I was tore up one time. I was at Mansion Line right around the first times it was just opening. I'm in there and I'm gone. And literally I smoked and I had an outer body experience. And I saw myself looking at myself like,
Wow.
what are you doing here? Not saying I'm better than anybody. Not saying that anybody that's in the club is something less than. Nah, I never say that. But what I am saying is myself, the inside of myself had a spiritual problem with me being in that building. And then being in the, you know what I'm saying, it changed. You got to think about it. One of the things that changes, your eyes go red. Your eyes go, if you really hit loud, now if you don't Reggie people, I'm not talking to you. Mid people on mid, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about if you really smoking and smoking for real,
Right.
your eyes go red and your eyes get low.
Absolutely.
It starts to change your physical. You don't
Yeah.
even look like you no more.
It's soulless. That's all I'm just telling you.
You
It's
start
like
to
you're
look like a
soulless.
zombie, yo.
Yeah.
You ever see somebody that gone and you talking
Oh,
to
I've
them?
been there.
They mouth ashy.
Been there.
They got crud in the side
They
of
got
their mouth.
the spit that gets caught up right
Yeah, man.
here. Got blunt breath. The
Man, I'm
worst.
trying to tell y'all, man.
Been there.
I think all of that stuff is significant. I'm just
Right.
saying. So if you heard anything that we said today, it's probably just find the meaning
Right.
of what you're
Absolutely.
doing. Find the meaning in it. Don't create a meaning or manipulate a meaning.
Right, true.
But really find out, why am I doing this? And if you are a person that's smoking weed because you're trying to cope with life and physical, or whether you smoking if the meaning is because you want to be cool. Now I'm gonna tell you what to do on that. Stop it.
It's a better way.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, I'm not mad at you though. If you smoking while you watching this, I'm not telling you to put it out. I'm
Yeah.
not telling you to do anything. But I
Yeah.
was just saying, like you guys said, just ask yourself why. Like really, really sit down and be like, why? You know how people were like, hey, let's sit here and talk about ancient aliens, or let's really go into these conspiracy theories. Well, let's go into this theory. Like, why are you really smoking? And
What about this theory?
Yeah, let's figure that
Yeah,
out.
for sure. But I think this is really good first.
Yeah.
podcast.
It was.
fun. First
This was so
started.
fun, y'all.
I like talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
I think so many times you can get caught on delivery or caught on, like, especially because of who you are or what location or entity or organization you're a part of. I think it's always good when you can get at a table with some, some pretty fine, great people, you know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
And y'all talking, y'all have
Talk
a good
it
time.
out.
Yeah. And that's what I want to do. Like, I am a Christian, but I want to have a podcast where I get to talk to an atheist. Because, like, I'm
Right.
not trying to convince anybody anything. Like, I'm
Right.
trying to have good conversation.
Yeah.
And maybe we can find some common ground or some middle ground when it comes to everything. And so we hope we found some common ground, middle ground with you guys that's listening, whether you are smoking weed,
Watching the podcast smoking.
yeah, whether you high now smoking this. We love y'all.
We love you.
Like I said, we got some amazing surprises, some amazing subjects coming to y'all,
Thanks.
coming very, very soon. We don't want to tell y'all because it wouldn't be a surprise.
You got to tune in,
Be a
right?
surprise. So, all right, man. Well, we love y'all. This is the Regen Podcast. I'm Juwan.
I'm Sarah.
Your boy Carrington.
And this is by Millennials, for Millennials
Seeking
the
truth.
Ooh, what
Peace.
a fire intro or outro.
Ooh, give me credit, cuz.